Hello and welcome back to another episode of my MotoGP 26 My Team Career Mode, and today we're here for the 5th round of the season for the French Grand Prix at Le Mans. Now, if you didn't see the last episode, the Spanish Grand Prix at Jerez, I do highly recommend you go check that one out before we do get into this one, because, spoiler alert, we got our first ever podium in the career, obviously as a rider, as a team. Fantastic stuff, really. The pace was there from the start of the weekend. The Yamaha, to be honest, seemed like it made a bit of a step because myself, Rins, and Quartararo were all fighting for the win in that episode. So definitely not how I expected the start of the season to go. Didn't expect to get my first podium, even in Season 1 necessarily, but definitely not this early in Season 1. And to see that the Yamaha's up there as well, didn't expect to see that either, because it should really be the worst bike in the game. Back to this episode though, and as you can see, we're still at Jerez. We haven't actually gone to Le Mans yet because we actually had a test after that race. You can see at the moment we are P3 on the timing, so taking forward that pace we had in the actual race weekend to try out some new parts, to try and find a bit of a direction with the bike. As we come towards the line on this lap, we actually ended up topping that test. So, you know, we had the pace for the podium, pace potentially to win the race. And even on the new bike, with the new parts, we are finding that a little bit more. And here we just got to kind of confirm the setup that we're going to go towards. So decided to go towards a bit more fuel delivery, bit better aero, and some improvement on both the anti-wheelie and the traction control. You can kind of heavily weight it one way or the other, but we've gone fairly standard across the board, except the fuel delivery. We kind of went for that over the engine power because it actually did seem a little bit better. After that, though, we did have another press conference, so the second one of the season. Obviously, we had one of these in the first episode. I think you must have these at the end of kind of every act of the career mode, now that we are 5 rounds in. And from the question that I was asked, I decided to go for the answer of prestige, so it was kind of talking about delivering on the performances, and I think so far we have been doing that. We've been exceeding my expectations by a good way, so I think saying prestige was a pretty fair answer for that question. And for the second question, both answers ended up being the same, really. They were both just for some more reputation points, so I think I just kind of picked a random one out of that. And off the back of that, it just gave me Alex Marquez as a rival, so I didn't have to say anything about Alex. It just decided that he was going to be my rival. I think that's because we are tied on points in the championship. It did then give me an opportunity to kind of say something about Alex, but it wasn't one of the press conferences where you get to pick a rival. It just gave me Alex without me actually picking him. After a successful test and press conference, though, it finally was time to head into the race weekend here at the French Grand Prix. And as always, we start our weekend off with practice. And we're actually making a pretty big mistake there into the first chicane, overstepping a little bit there, losing the rear, and having to actually cut across that chicane. So not the ideal start to practice, but you know, that wasn't going to stop us too much. You can see a couple of laps later now we are quite a bit underneath our time. 1.2, almost 1.3 seconds as we come into these last couple of corners. Currently sat P5 as well, so we weren't actually doing too bad already. But on the run up towards the line, we end up going top once again, 6/10 clear of Marco Bezzecchi. So that pace is building. We had some good pace at Austin, we had some good pace at Jerez, and it seems like we've picked up where we left off there because we've topped the timesheet. So we topped the test after Jerez. We've now topped free practice as well, a quarter of a second in the end ahead of Marc Marquez in second, Bezzecchi third, Fermin Aldeguer fourth, and Jorge Martin rounding out the top 5. So yeah, historically, obviously Le Mans has been a bit of a Yamaha track, so we are taking that forward, but it doesn't really seem like the other guys are up there with us. Alex Rins, to be fair, continued his pretty decent run of form in 10th place, but Quartararo, both the Pramac guys, and Jake Dixon are nowhere to be seen in those top positions, unfortunately. So it's just going to be the two of us going through into qualifying 2. Speaking of which, we are now here in qualifying. You can see going through Q1, we had Brad Binder and Jean Mir. So unfortunately, no Yamahas able to join us. And if you look on the right-hand side, 3 at the bottom there, Jake Dixon was actually the top Yamaha in Q1, which is a surprise to see, good to see. Hopefully he's building a little bit of momentum now off the back of our good results in Jerez. Cutting it into the actual qualifying session itself now, though, you can see currently we are on pole position and we are actually on course to improve even more, actually following the two factory Ducatis in front of us here, so getting a bit of a toe off of Marc Marquez. And over the line, at the moment, again, a massive gap at the top. Half a second it was at that point of the session when the flag actually came out. Of course, the gap was not that big, only a 1/10 of a second, but that does mean we've taken our first pole position of the career mode. So after coming so close in Jerez, we have finally managed to do it this time then. So a 1/10 of a second ahead of Marc Marquez in second and Bezzecchi in third place. So yeah, really the two championship protagonists are the most competitive. In fact, both the championship competitive teams really are right up there because we've got Bagnaia and Martin right behind their respective teammates. So Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a fight at the top, I think, to try and fight off those guys, especially the Ducatis with the straight line speed, but the Aprilia have got the straight line speed and the turning, so that's really going to give us a bit of a tough time. Alex Rins then ended up in 12th position, so unfortunately wasn't able to kind of follow in our footsteps, and to be fair, it was a good way off some of the other riders. But yeah, our first pole position in the career mode, surely this has got to be a shot at our first win. After the podium last time, we've just got to keep building on the momentum. Onto the sprint now though, and so far, to be honest, the sprint has been our nemesis this season. And even when we've been having a good weekend, the sprints have never turned out too well. Marco Bezzecchi there on the grid, you can see his new hairstyle that Milestone added in the new update, because they do of course only focus on the most important things. That little tangent aside though, we are excited getting into this one because it's an opportunity here. It really is an opportunity. Like I said, the sprints haven't really gone to plan for us so far, so we do need to try and get the start, actually keep the lead and so on, be aggressive, because if we get stuck in the pack, we could be in a bit of a mess. But here we go then now. We are looking at all the bikes on the grid. I'm not sure why it's kind of looking a little bit sunset weather-wise. I don't think it was that time in real life, so I'm not too sure why that is. But either way, here we are on our very first pole position. The lights are on, waiting for them to get here for the French Grand Prix sprints. Lights out, and away we go, and it's not been the best jump off the line. Marc Marquez has passed us already. Bezzecchi goes past as well. Bezzecchi, though, Bezzecchi's just shut the throttle, almost got on the grass, lost so much time, so we've actually managed to get back in front of Bezzecchi. Martin goes through now, so does Bagnaia. 2 KTMs coming past, and 2 Hondas, and 2 Grassinis as we go into turn 1. And someone plows in there, I think it's Diogo Moreira, and we're down! We've been touched, I think it was Iagora, hit the back of us there, taking us out, so much contact into that first corner. We were going really well, we were 3rd place pretty much, as we actually hit the brakes, but everybody else came flying in. Moreira was on the inside flying in there. As we jump back to a replay from our point of view, there you can see Bezzecchi actually running on the grass and dropping all the way to the back of the pack, so not good for Bezzecchi when he already lost so many points in the last round to Marc Marquez. There was actually a crash behind there, so a rider went down. There was Moreira hitting us. Another rider went down actually in the background there, and that was us as well, unfortunately taking out a Tech 3 KTM on the outside. Cutting though to the onboard camera of Marco Bezzecchi, he's probably going to get a good shot of what happened. I don't know why he just run on the grass there, but that completely ruined his race really, because he's all the way at the back of the field now. You can see a crash there. That was Raul Fernandez. Then Maverick Vinales going down as well, and into this corner here you can see he's getting a perfect view. Down I go, and yeah, just an absolutely chaotic turn 1. The AI just all barrel rolling in there, and that is my sprint ruined as well. Same with Marco Bezzecchi, and we cut to the end of that very first lap. We are together on track. Jake Dixon actually just ahead of Bezzecchi, so Dixon actually for once leading in front of us, so it really kind of shows he is struggling a little bit. It really must have been a bad start for him too, because he qualified a bit better than that, and it's really going bad for him now because he's been taken out. Bezzecchi has taken his handlebars, he's gone past there. We've completely blown turn 1, sort of getting distracted by that, but contact, so it's gone from bad to worse for our team. Both riders down already in this race. Myself from pole position, but Jake Dixon battling back there with Marco Bezzecchi. And actually, to be fair, from that shot, it kind of looks like Bezzecchi was plenty alongside. Jake just kind of tipped in like Bezzecchi wasn't there, and that unfortunately was the consequence. Cutting on to lap 3 now, though, we have Pecco Bagnaia losing the front there, battling with Pedro Acosta. Acosta so lucky to not get wiped out by Bagnaia's bike there. They kind of had almost a similar collision to Bezzecchi and Jake Dixon, but it was just a bit later on in the corner, and then Bagnaia lost the front, and his bike went skittling through the gravel. Bit further at the front, though, we've got Marc Marquez still leading the race ahead of Martin in 2nd place. Those two really just about escaping the chaos that happened at turn 1. Obviously, Bezzecchi was collected in it, myself collected in it as well, so to really out of the top runners, that was pretty much all of them gone, so just leaves those two to lead the way. Back to ourselves though now on lap 4, and we're still unfortunately stuck behind Bezzecchi. We've got a big gap back to Maverick Vinales, so not got to worry about him too much as we go into the Shimano both S's. Are we going to get the run on Bezzecchi? I think we have. We've got side by side with Bezzecchi on the exit of the corner there. Up the inside we go into the blue S's, and yes, we've managed to find our way past Bezzecchi, which was always going to be a tough one because, you know, he was out of position as well, so he was going to be a fast bike. It wasn't like passing someone that's actually at the back. It was going to be very, very tricky, and that means now our sights are set on Franco Morbidelli. Speaking of which, we cut now onto the 5th lap of the race, still behind Morbidelli. A little bit of a gap now to Bezzecchi, but we dive up the inside of Morbidelli. That was never going to work. The rear slides, we go massively wide through the museum corner and rejoin a good bit behind Morbidelli, about a quarter of a second. So clearly getting a little bit frustrated, stuck behind Franco, that we went for a bit of a dive bomb. A bit further around the track though, we now jump forward to Fermin Aldeguer, who's battling away with Fabio Quartararo, and Quartararo just rode into the back of Aldeguer there, had him off. Jumping to the onboard camera of Quartararo, this is going to give us the prime view of what's just happened there. We go into the S Blue, and yeah, he just carries way too much entry speed, completely classes into the back of Fermin, and that's surely got to be a long lap penalty of some description. Back to us though, onto the final lap of the race. What has been a very, very odd sprint race with all the crashes going on. We pick up Chaplin's wall in there as we try and get the run through the chicane on Morbidelli. We're going to be able to do anything down La Chapelle. We got the inside of Morbidelli, but again, looks like we've got a bit hot. We almost hit the back of Top Rat there as well as we went through there. Morbidelli gets the cutback, but are we going to be able to carry the speed and get the run into Museum once again like we did a couple of laps ago? Don't break us late this time. We're up the inside of Morbidelli. We've sort of leveled him instead of passing him this time. And finally, that seems to be the Italian dispatch to us. So we've found our way up into P16. Back to the leaders though, once again into the final couple of corners. Martin has absolutely kept Marc Marquez honest, but it's another blow for Bezzecchi in the championship. Marquez is going to win the sprint here. That's going to be 12 points in his account ahead of Bezzecchi. And back with us towards the back. We're actually on the back of Toprak now. We are looking for a bit of a pass, and we break so deep into the penultimate turn. Yeah, there's no way we're going to get that stopped all the way on the green on the outside. So good job we didn't actually make the pass there, because we definitely would have been dropped a position for that. But yeah, not the ideal sprint race there. We did make a couple of passes towards the end, but considering we started on pole position, it couldn't really have gone much worse. And for the team as a whole, with Jake Dixon also retiring after that contact with Bezzecchi, it was a pretty miserable one. But the results then, Marc Marquez won ahead of Jorge Martin in second. That much we did see. Pedro Acosta, to be fair, a pretty good result in third, although Luca Marini actually returning to the front. Remember back in Chang how good he was in those wet conditions. He brings home a fourth place there ahead of Brad Bender in fifth and Jean Mir in sixth position. Alex Marquez, our rival, in seventh position there, so he's gained a few points on us, which isn't ideal because we do need to outscore him over the next few rounds. But of course you can see the results were a little bit strange there because there were so many incidents on that first lap. I mean, there was about 3 or 4 different crashes into the sort of turn 1, turn 2 complex alone. I think we saw about 3 KTMs go down. Well, actually it couldn't have been 3 because 2 of them were still doing pretty well, but both Tech 3 guys getting involved. We also saw Moreira going down, and then later on, of course, we also saw some more contact going on throughout the race. So yeah, quite a wild sprint race, that one, and pretty disastrous for us as a team. On to the main race now, though, and we are going to be hoping for a bit better. The actual initial start wasn't perfect in the sprint, but it wasn't terrible. It wasn't too bad at all. It was just the fact that, to be quite honest, I braked at the correct braking point, and none of the AI did, and they all just flew in there, and then I ended up getting sort of hit in the melee because I think me and Igora just sort of crossed paths and went down, but that's after I'd already been bashed by a couple of people. So for this main race, I think we've got to be a bit silly, and I think that's where we've been struggling in these sprint races. I think into turn 1, I've got to brake too late. I've actually got to outbrake myself because we did the same kind of thing at Jerez in the main race, and that was a much better race for us because we actually got the position at the first corner. That's what counts. It counts about getting the position. It's not about actually making the corner correctly. So we'll have to try and bear that one in mind as we get into this one. The time of day does seem correct for this one. Doesn't seem so late in the day. So I'm not sure what's happening with that sprint race. But our second attempt then from pole position. Are we going to make this one a bit better? The lights are on. Waiting for them to go out here for then the French Grand Prix. Hold it for quite a while. Lights out. And away we go. The initial launch is very similar as Marc Marquez comes past. Bezzecchi comes past as well. I think Bagnaia almost went on the grass there. Bezzecchi did a similar mistake as well. Had to shut the throttle again. So Bezzecchi not having the start that he needed. We have a couple of riders gone on the inside, but we've braked really deep into turn 1. The rear end has slid out from underneath. Oh my goodness. There's a massive crash. Massive crash. Red flag. I'm not surprised what's happened there. We're going to cut to a replay shot straight away to see what's happened. We're looking, I think, from Bezzecchi's point of view. Because once again, he gets on the curb, makes a bit of a mistake. He's getting absolutely swamped. Both Hondas have gone past him, both KTM's gone past him, bit of contact there, and Zarco's crashed really early on, and his bike comes flying into the pack, takes out Binder, takes out Bezzecchi, I think takes out Jean Mir as well. This is on board with Bagnaia, who also had to shut the throttle, so a little bit of a strange phenomenon going here with the AI at the start of the race. But you can see there goes Zarco, down he goes, a bit of contact in the middle of the pack, and his bike just barrels back into the pack. It's an absolutely horrific incident, and our first red flag of the career mode, and so our first ever restart, and we're going to be taking it from pole once again. We were scrolling through the people that are out the race. You can see Marco Bezzecchi there is actually out of the race along with Zarco, so that's massive for the championship. He was already having a bad enough weekend, but it's going to be another no score for Bezzecchi. So are we going to be looking at Marquez already having a massive lead by the end of round 5, making up for that Austin DNF and then some in this round here? But here we go then. The lights are on, waiting for the second time now in this Grand Prix. Lights out. And away we go. Obviously, a few less riders into turn 1 this time, so hopefully we'll be a bit cleaner. Both the factory Ducatis jump us off the line. It's been a godsend for Bagnaia, really, because he's managed to actually make up for that mistake on the initial start. We've actually kept a position, though. We've got pretty deep into turn 1, and we've got into second position there. So, yes, we've made it through. Another crash behind, though, so still some more crashes going through turn 1. I can see Brad Binder's got a double on lap there. He got given a penalty as well for that incident, by the way, which is crazy, because he was one of the riders that was taken out by Zarco's bike, so I don't know how he got that one. Back to the replay shot, so we're on board with Alex Marquez, because I think it's actually him that's gone down at turn 1, which is pretty big for our rival championship here, because obviously we've just got him as our rival. Into turn 1 again, lots more contact, and yes, down he goes. Contact with Marini, I think, was eventually what caused him to sort of overload the front and go down. On to lap 2 though now, we have got Jake Dixon in the heat of the battle, and unfortunately, he's been taken out once again. Someone's running straight into the back of him, the same thing that Fabio Quartararo did in the sprint, and that is Jake Dixon out. So, yeah, a disastrous weekend for Jake, being taken out in both races. Kind of what's been happening to us recently, being taken out so many times, but either way, we're back to the front now, all over the back of Marc Marquez. We are hustling and harrying, and we're soaring at the back of that factory Ducati. We had the pace all weekend. We top practice. We were on pole position. A bit of contact with Mark as we try to sneak our way up the inside down towards the penultimate turn. We're on the wrong side of Mark here. He's got the inside. We're just going to have to pick the bike up and kind of take second best for now. But I think surely it's a matter of time before we take this position. We've got the start this time. We've got the track position, and we know we've got the pace. So we've just got to take our time, try and pass him. We've actually got a really good run on him on the straight there, which is a surprise, because usually we are getting dropped on the straights on this Yamaha. But getting the slipstream of that Ducati seems to have actually helped a little bit on this occasion, and we've got a run there through that chicane. We're side by side with Marc Marquez down towards La Chapelle. We hit the front here in the French Grand Prix, but we go massively wide through La Chapelle. Surely that's going to allow Marc back through. Hopefully it doesn't allow Bagnaia back through, who is just behind us as well, but it doesn't on this occasion. But a valiant effort there at trying to pass Marc. Cutting on to the next lap though, we are still stuck behind him. Well, I say stuck behind him, he is running a pretty quick pace. And we go into the Shimano Bofas, and we almost hit Marc up the back. We had to run a little bit wide. We've actually ran off the circuit, so we had to rejoin there. We're not going to get the run. Bagnaia comes through for that one, so we didn't let Bagnaia through on the first occasion, but we have on this one. And Pedro Acosta also looks up the inside there into the Blue S. So fortunately, we've managed to keep in front of Pedro for now, but unfortunately, our work has got a lot harder because we were struggling to pass one factory Ducati, and now all of a sudden we've got to try and pass two. But again, we are looking racy, we are looking competitive. We're already trying to ride back up the inside of Bagnaia. It's optimistic, it's not going to work, but I like the enthusiasm. We are up and ready for this one, because we see what happens if you let the beat you up. You get knocked off, you get pushed back in the pack, and we can't let that happen once again when we've got the pace. Taking the risk through that sort of turn 1, turn 2 section into the chicane. Again, we're going to do what we did to Marc Marquez on the previous lap, get the run through. We're not quite as far alongside Pecco on this occasion. We go up the inside, but Pecco hangs it around the outside. We're back up the inside of him though now, because with the shorter run on the inside of La Chapelle, is Pecco going to hang it around the outside? He gets the power down. That Ducati surely going to give him the advantage into Museum, where we're going to sweep round the outside of Pecco. We try it, but we're a little bit wide, and that's going to allow Pecco to retake the position. We are kind of fighting with one arm behind the back here with that straight line speed deficit, but I think also I've got to be careful on maybe trying a little bit too hard here, trying to go around the outside, trying to brake really deep. We know Bagnaia is so good on the brakes, so to pass Bagnaia on the outside is always going to be pretty tough. But we're on to the back straight then, down towards the Shimano Buff. We know we are faster there. We were faster there in the sprint. We were faster there so far in the main race. Into the left, flick it over to the right. We actually made a bit of hash of that, to be honest. We did not change direction well. I think I had to shut the throttle slightly as we cut now to the outboard camera, because we can see Pedro Acosta launches up the inside. We have to pit the bike up. Pedro comes through. Martin's trying to come through on the inside as well. Arguing to stay ahead of the former world champion. Yes, we do on this occasion, but that's another position lost all the way down now into 4th position. Cutting on to lap 6 though, we are still on the back of Pedro Acosta, and of course we're doing everything we can to try and go back past him. We go round the outside of him into the Shimano Buff. He releases the brake a little bit there to try and stay ahead, but we just sort of both run a little bit wide, and we actually fight our way past Acosta. Acosta also actually looks to have lost the position to Martin in that one, so Acosta being slightly over aggressive has actually cost him on this occasion. A little bit behind us though, whilst that was going on, Fabio Quartararo does it again. I mean, that is ridiculous. That is unbelievable. He just once again releases the brake and runs into the back of someone. This time he crashes too. That's both Moreira and Quartararo, and somehow still no penalty for Fabio from that first incident as well. So yeah, he clearly didn't learn his lesson, and he has done it again. This occasion, though, we go through the Shimano berth. We almost hit Bagnaia at the back in the middle. Mark, actually, I think, was the catalyst for that one, because I think Bagnaia is looking like he wants to get past Mark now. He held him up in the middle of the corner. We're going to try and get on the inside of Pecco because he tried to get past Mark. Mark backed him up. We're going to the inside of him again on the curb. We are really desperate to pass him. We're trying to pass him in some really, really strange places, to be quite honest with you. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but we're getting on the inside now into the final corner. A switch back through the penultimate turn. What a move that was. I'll say that about my home pass. I don't care. And we've found our way up into second position once again, but the Ducati bullet speed comes flying past, but we're going to risk it around the outside through turn 2, on the brakes into turn 3 on the chicane. Bagnaia hangs it around the outside. He does it really, really well, to be fair to Pecco. Obviously that Ducati speed helping him out, but we get the switch back through the chicane. We've passed it now before we even get down the hill towards La Chapelle, so I think that's finally that second position back in front of Pecco. But that was a good sequence of corners, a good sector. We were sort of going side by side through there, and it just shows you how you have to kind of set up these passes. When you're on a bike like this and you don't have the speed to keep them on the straight, you have got to put it in some strange places. Cutting on to lap 9 now, though, and again we've got the run through the Shimano berth S's. We're all over the back of Marc Marquez. He goes defensive onto the inside there. He's struggling a little bit now. Obviously, like I said, Bagnaia was trying to pass him sort of on the previous lap there, so Marquez is almost holding up the pack a little bit, kind of what he did at Aston in 2025 in real life, where he's not quite got the pace, but he's just got that prowess of the brakes. He's just sort of making himself difficult to pass in all the right places. But once again, we actually get a really good run off that last corner. In fact, we've got a slipstream. We're going to the left-hand side of Marc Marquez. Surely we're not going to try and go around the outside. I know we sort of did it on Bagnaia, but this time we're going fully around the outside. We've taken the lead on the actual outside. We've not even had to use the next corner to take the position. And what a pass that was around the outside of Marc Marquez through the sort of turn 1, turn 2 section there on the Yamaha as well. Obviously, we got the run out the corner, but we're just kind of using the Yamaha speed. We've got a little bit wide there through La Chapelle, and Mark goes back on the inside bit to pick the bike up once again. Marc Marquez retakes the lead, so all that for now. We really tried it. We tried the aggression. We really, really did. But we made the mistake a couple of corners later, and you can't afford to do that against Marc Marquez. As a rider of that caliber, you can't be making mistakes and letting him back through. So we have to re-attack later on in the lap. And this time, look at that run. We get that perfectly. You can see I tried to set that up a few times earlier on in the race. It kind of got balked while those Ducatis in front, but on that occasion, we did it right, and we finally take the lead of this French Grand Prix. We've got 0.4 of a second there as well, so we've got to try and stretch it out where we can. Cutting a little bit further back, though, to Iagora, and he actually crashes on his own accord into the blue S's there, sort of clipping the curb and going down. However, we cut back to ourselves now, and you can see it is the last lap of the race. After passing Marquez, we just disappeared into the distance, 3 seconds up the road. So out the last corner, we're going to do a wheelie up towards the line. It's going to be our first win in the career mode, first win as a rider, first win as a team as well. And just like I said with the podium in that last one, we've got to drink it in. I mean, we were sort of destined to win this one. The pace was there from day dot. We were the fastest in practice by a good way, fastest in qualifying, and I mean, you can see by that gap in the end of the race there, fastest in the race, 3 seconds we won by in the end, despite only overtaking with about 3 or 4 laps to go. So if we got the lead from the outset, that could have been a 10-15 second victory there, to be quite honest. It really, really would have been an absolute dominance, but it doesn't matter how you win. If you win by 100 seconds or 1,000th of a second, you've won the race. And that's the important thing that we've got to take away. So 3.2 seconds was the margin in the end then, ahead of Marc Marquez in second, Pecco Bagnaia third, Jorge Martin fourth, and Pedro Acosta rounds out the top 5. But what a race that was. Some proper good battles with both the factory Ducatis, with Acosta as well, ran the outside into the Shimano berth on Acosta, and he released the brake as well. I did like that one, and yeah, just what an odd race as well. Obviously we had the red flag before it even all started. We'd already had the crashes in the sprint. We had, again, the AI just kind of taking their brains out. I mean, especially Quartararo. He really was poor in that one, just kind of running into the back of quite a few different people. Toprak ends up actually getting the last point there, and you can see at the bottom all the DNFs: Agora, Moreira, Quartararo, Dixon, Bezecchi, and Mir, and there is also Zarco underneath Mir that I don't think I have scrolled down to, but of course he was out as well as the catalyst of that initial red flag crash. If we look to see what that did to the World Championship, then you can see Marc Marquez now is 34 points ahead of Bezzecchi. Considering that he would have picked up 32 points from this weekend, that is pretty much all the damage done there from Bezzecchi. Unfortunately, being collected in that first corner collision in the main race, and obviously the mistake he made in the sprint race. Pedro Acosta actually only another 5 points further back in third place, so he could almost be the closest rival to Marquez in the championship. Jorge Martin's still sat in fourth, Bagnaia in fifth. But the big news is that we finally move up into that top 10, up to 9th place ahead of Alex Rins. So we're now top Yamaha in the championship, top 10 in the championship. We are only 75 points ourselves off of the back of Marc Marquez. And you can see Martin in 4th place is 63 points back. So 4th place at the championship is potentially realistic. Now, we're not going to be winning every race, I don't think. Let's not get too carried away on that one. But we are on a run of form here. Onto the Teams Championship though, of course, Ducati Lenovo continue to lead then 23 points ahead of Aprilia in 2nd place, and Red Bull KTM sat in 3rd place. We move up to 7th in the championship now, ahead of a factory team in Repsol Honda. Not Repsol Honda, I'm going back a few years, Castrol Honda. I knew I was going to make that slip at some point. I thought I'd make it a few years ago, but seems I'm still doing it to this day. But we're ahead then of a factory team now, and that's the big deal. Obviously, we're already ahead of Pramac, we're already ahead of Tech 3 beforehand and LCR, but we're now ahead of the factory team of Honda. That's what's the big deal for me. And we're not too far either behind the factory Yamaha team, only 7 points back. So a good couple of races, we could potentially move ourselves ahead of the factory Yamaha team as well, which really would be fantastic as a brand new team to the sport. Onto the Constructors' Championship, and of course, Ducati still continuing to lead, 44 points now in front of Aprilia. So that's a pretty healthy lead, to be fair, because it's quite hard to erode points away in the Constructors' Championship. However, the big news is, with that race win, we move ahead of Honda here as well. So Yamaha now off the bottom of the Constructors' table. A good chunk actually in front of Honda there. A pretty big gulf still to KTM though, so I think movement further up the table is going to be pretty tricky, even if we are on a good run of form from now. But that is pretty much it for this episode. The French Grand Prix at Le Mans. Our first win as a team, first win as a rider as well. Really fantastic stuff. So hopefully you guys did enjoy that one. If that doesn't deserve a like, I don't know what does. Of course, like I say, if you are new to the channel, please do like the video and subscribe, because it really does help me out. And of course, it is a win-win for both of us, as you get some more MotoGP 26 game content in your subscription feed. But I hope you do enjoy the rest of your day, and I shall see you in the next one.